Okay, what's up, people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing well. As always, guys, if you're enjoying the content, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. Of course, make sure you do go and hit the bell as well so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Check out the Discord channel, completely free to join. You can check out updates there, see what other people are trading, share your own ideas. I'm there as well. I'll discuss, see what other people are looking to trade, share some of my ideas there too. So if you are interested, make sure you check it out. Links in the description to that. But good morning, people. Hope everyone's well. What's up, Ivan? Good morning. Welcome to the stream. As always, we'll go through the USD side of things first. Take a look at the dollar, see what's happening with the USD majors, gold and silver. Of course, any requests, any pairs you guys are looking at, or any pairs you want me to take a look at, share my opinion, let me know. And of course, let me know any time frames as well, if there is any specific time frames you do want me to take a look at. Good morning, Tashi. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. So, as always, we'll start with the dollar. So, USD has been a little bit mixed since we last spoke. Haven't really gone anywhere. My outlook is still very much the same with the dollar. I'm still looking for more strength. I do have a very bearish outlook on the USD longer term. I like the possibility for a pullback into this area around 104, 103. If the market will be kind enough to pull back into that level, I feel like that'd be a great place to look for some longer term short opportunities to take it back into the lows and potentially a lot further as well. Basically, what I'm looking at is the continuation of that bearish leg that we got, pretty much throughout the whole of 2025. The market's been bleeding. Now I'm looking for the pullback of that for a continuation. As simple as that, nothing too extraordinary. But at the moment, we do have some bullish structure at play, which of course is represented with these higher highs and higher lows. Low, high, low, high, low, and the high over there. So now I'm anticipating a potential new higher low for, again, another swing to the upside. I talked about the retest of this high here. I believe that was on Monday or Tuesday, about the retest of that level. Potentially price might use that as support to potentially push higher. And at the moment, it looks like that is the case. At least we haven't broken through the level. Price respected it very well on Wednesday. Hasn't really gone anywhere since, but it is still respecting that area. So the buy still remains the same. I'm looking for a drive back to the high here. So that's 102. And of course, if I want to get that push back into the levels which I just went over, which look good for some shorting opportunities, then we could be seeing a pretty big swing. But the analysis is I'm expecting some more USD strength in the continuation of this bullish trend for perhaps some shorts later on. That's been the outlook for at least a couple of weeks now. Nothing's really changed. We saw a nice drive to the upside at the start of the week. We have since pulled back, filled the gap that was created at the start of the week. Perhaps now we can potentially push on and see a continuation. So that's my main idea there for the dollar. In terms of euro, of course, if I'm going to be expecting that for the dollar, then pretty much euro USD, I'm looking for the exact opposite pretty much. The market's been pretty consistent with these 4-hour lower lows and lower highs. So you've got the high over there, the low, next lower high, low, next lower high, low. So again, what I'm looking for is another lower high for, again, a new low. We just about came back and retested this support level here on Wednesday, I believe. Yeah, Wednesday. Nice test of that level. I said yesterday, if we're looking for some entries, ideally, it would be nice to see price rally back to resistance, potentially double top it. That would be a great place for some entries, perhaps on like the hourly chart. I believe we've got like a trendline confluence running through the market here. Perhaps you can go spike into that, get some nice stop losses just above that, and hopefully capitalize on a swing back into support and maybe further as well. So I like the idea for more downside for euro. Again, pretty much basing the idea of looking for some dollar strength as well. And there's some nice confluence above us. Now, will we see price make that move? I'm not too sure. Will we potentially fall from here? Possibly. I would say the market right now is just kind of consolidating, so difficult to say what the next move will be. But in terms of my directional bias, as long as price kind of stays below 1.12750, which is this area, I do expect to see a drop. If price does rally through that, then maybe we could be looking at price becoming a bit more bullish, and maybe we're bullish sooner than expected. But for now, as long as that confluence can remain intact, I do think we will eventually push back to lows and potentially further as well. Pound USD, same situation here as well. We've got some nice lower highs on the 4-hour chart. So originally we had the higher highs, a high. Then the market topped out around 1.34500. Nice push down, lower high from there, another push down. And again, looking at potentially another lower high. It's not confirmed yet. Market hasn't seen a new low, so technically it's not a lower high, but it could be. And if we are going to form a lower high, well, then I would expect that to be it and take us back down to the low. So again, as I said yesterday, if we're looking for some opportunities for pound USD, I feel like this is a nice area to look for a short. Basically, if you can get stop losses above the high there, I think you're in a very safe place. If the market was to rally and hit that stop loss, it's probably going to break out and continue back to highs anyway. So I think that'll be a smart place for a stop loss. And if you can get some shorts back into the low there, a great place to target. And you're looking at a decent risk reward as well. So pound USD, again, as long as we can respect this area of confluence, I do think there's a good chance we do have a bit of a drop. Again, don't get me wrong, long-term pound USD, I'm pretty bullish, but I can see that price having a very tough time trying to sustain resistance up here. Multiple wicks to the upside, not the sign of a healthy market, which is likely to continue. Of course, anything could happen, but as a trader, we've got to deal with probabilities. If price is producing numerous wicks into a key level of resistance, the likelihood is that we're probably going to reject that area and pull away from it rather than continue to break through. And that's kind of what I would base my analysis from. So unless price was to rally through this area here, of course, then I'll rethink things. Perhaps we are going to get a breakout. But as long as we can stay below, that does make me pretty bearish there for pound USD. Dollar CAD, same situation kind of with pound USD and euro, which is I'm still looking for more dollar strength. Price did have a very nice breakout of this descending channel last week. Very nice breakout. And since then, we came back for a nice retest on some resistance there. So price had the breakout, had initially a retest there. We came back again for another retest. Didn't really set the market alight with that move. It was a nice reaction, but we only just about came back into resistance there before we did push back down. So perhaps price is going to have a bit more of a sell-off before potentially pushing on. Again, what I am looking for is that as an impulse. This is a correction for more upside. Longer term, I'm very bearish on the dollar CAD. So I still do see price coming back to these lows and taking them out. But in terms of shorting that, I do want to see more of a pullback. I'm looking at these major swing points for the market. High, low, high, low. I'm looking for the next one. I do have a couple of areas which do interest me. This area, which is only just above where current price is. But I do believe this area has a greater chance of sending us lower. So preferably, I would like to see a bigger move take us back into 1.416. Ideally, that would be nice. And try and find some sells from there. Again, just looking for another lower high in the sequence here. I believe it lines up pretty well with the fib 0.5 level. Yeah, it lines up pretty well with the 0.5 of the fib. So ideally, I would like to see that happen. But again, beggars can't be choosers. We'll see what the market gives us. But in terms of an opportunity for dollar CAD, certainly from a long bias, I would wait for us to, of course, come back into areas of support, like the one we bounced earlier this week, if I'm going to find a long entry to take that higher. I don't really see much of an opportunity where we are right now. In terms of Aussie dollar, this one's been a bit all over the shop, to be honest. Yeah, not a fan of the price action one bit. I'm looking at the price action here. We've been stuck in this ascending channel. Price had a rally to the upside this week after having a big fake out to the downside. Then we kind of respected resistance. The top end of the channel came back down again. Respected the bottom there. I think Aussie and NZD were pretty strong last night. So we did see a bit of a reaction there, but again, I'm still looking at the market coming down for it to go higher again. I'm still very much longer term bullish on Aussie dollar, but I can see that we've had a big rally. Price is looking very fatigued right now. We're stuck in this ascending channel, which is never really a healthy sign for a trending market. If we're stuck in an ascending channel, sooner or later you're expecting price to have a bit of a breather and drop to the downside, which is what I'm looking for to then take the market higher. So 0.62500, 0.63 is kind of the area which I'm wanting to see price push down into, so I can take some longs back into resistance, then potentially further as well. Will we see that pullback? I have no idea, but that's kind of the area which lines up pretty well with confidence for me. So price can get there. I do believe that'll be a nice place for a buy, and a buy for potentially a long time as well. So that's why I like the area a lot. In terms of current price and current opportunities, to be honest, I'm not really seeing much, to be honest. I wouldn't really be looking to buy this. I wouldn't really be looking to sell it. So to be honest, I would just probably avoid the price action here for Aussie dollar. It looks a complete mess and difficult to find some quality setup. So I would personally stay away. Same sort of situation with New Zealand dollar as well. Prices are incredibly flat. Again, my longer term outlook is still very much, big impulse, looking at this as a pullback. Now I'm looking for a lot more upside. I do think we can see a bit more downside for New Zealand dollar first. I'm looking to see if we can get another run back into the lows here, and then perhaps use that as potentially a buy opportunity, kind of like a weird channel there, if you will, minus that kind of fake out a week ago. But I'm looking at this as, again, as a massive rally. This is somewhat of a correction for price to continue higher. We're coming back to retest some really nice structure, which was past resistance, now turned support. I do think that's a nice area to position long as well, and possibly capitalize on a continuation there. So very, very bullish on New Zealand dollar. I like the setup there, but of course we need to come lower. Trading in the middle of nowhere right now, in my opinion. So again, I would stay away from that price action, but if we can come lower, back into support, I feel like that's a great place to position long, and hopefully we do get a bounce to the upside. Over to gold. Gold had a nice reaction yesterday. I was talking about price coming back into this area here, which is of course previous resistance. Price broke through that as our price went high actually. Price broke through that, never had the retest. This is the first time price has come back for the retest. Then price came also back into the low end of this descending channel, and we had a lovely test of that as well. Price reacted to that. Was a nice close. I did say if price can get back above this area here, that would be a nice entry. I was debating potentially entering gold longs, but on second thought, I was like, the risk reward is not looking too great in terms of a push back into the low end of, into the middle of the channel, especially even back to the high end. I'm only looking at 1.42. So I decided to refrain from entering gold and see if it can come back down and potentially give me a better entry. If the entry was a little bit more sharper and had a better risk reward, I would have had a stab there at gold. But the entry signal was a little bit too big for my liking, considering I'm being very cautious with gold longs. That middle line of the channel would be an area which I could look to possibly go break even or book profits. Definitely the up end of the channel there. The reason why I like gold longs is that I'll just be looking to trail stops and just see how far we can take it. Who knows, maybe gold has a massive rally. So I like it because potentially it could be a big move. But into my first targets there, where I would be a bit more cautious with the trade, the risk reward isn't ideal. So I did refrain. I'm hoping to see if gold can come back down into support, potentially double bottom, and that could be something that gives me a better entry and a better stop loss for the position. But the idea is still the same. As long as gold can hold this confluence, looking for a rally to the upside. Silver, yeah, not much with silver, to be honest, other than we're still consolidating. Price did respect support here pretty well, so nice reaction there. I did say this is a nice area for a buy, but I would be cautious as soon as price comes back into supply there, because we are pretty consistent with lower highs here, I've noticed, with silver. So I wonder, is price going to form another lower high to come back down again? Because essentially what we're doing is squeezing between the resistance of the trend line and the support level there. So eventually we are going to get price to break to the upside or to the downside from that. So in my book, it looks like silver's just consolidating, as I've spoken about a few times. Not really interested about the current price action, but if we could push a lot lower, back into 31, back into 29, well, those levels would interest me, and I'll see what we could do, potentially find some longs. Because long term, I still expect new highs past this point for silver. I'm still very bullish on this one, but just very, very difficult to find a clear opportunity, especially with the way price is moving. So at the moment, just staying away, keeping a close eye. If we do come lower, that will interest me. But at the moment, I'm just seeing a bit of a range here. And yeah, we'll see which way price breaks out. But not the biggest fan of the current price action of silver. So yeah, that's going to run out with USD. Where was I? Good morning, Ahmed. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. DT, what is up? Hope you're doing good. Yes, having a good day. I mean, the day is still young, but it's been good so far. Hope the same with you. Ivan, Euro CHF buy. Stop loss on the low. Take profit around 0.941. Okay, we'll have a look. See. Poppy, appreciate it. Leave a like, guys. Yeah, if you're enjoying the stream, please be sure to drop a like. It does really help out. Subscribe to the channel whilst you're at it as well. But yeah, it does really help out and pushes the content. So if you could do me a favor and drop a like, I would really appreciate that. But thanks, Poppy, for mentioning that. Ferragams, what's up? Hope you're doing good. Welcome, welcome. Ivan, Aussie, New Zealand dollar sell after 2 hour, 1 hour time frame retracement. Okay, we'll take a look at that as well. What's up, CS Integrated? Hope you're well. Pavinator, what is up? I'm doing good. Happy Friday. Right back at you, my man. Looks like you were totally right with your prediction on gold short last week. Did you get into that trade? No, I wasn't looking to trade gold shorts. I was a bit weary of of gold coming down, but I wasn't really looking to trade it because I'm still very bullish on gold. It was more of a be cautious to buy rather than sell, to be honest, with gold last week. I was never really looking to sell it, but because of how price was shaping up, I was just cautious to buy. But now it's come back to a much better place for a buy. Pavinator did cheeky sell entry in Aussie dollar, entered in at 0.64578. Looking to take profit a bit. Okay, so you're looking to sell it on the way down because I remember you said you're looking to buy it around 0.62 if I remember correctly. So you're looking to try and take advantage of the move down initially before buying it, I suppose. Yeah, waiting for it to go down to 0.62. Okay, I'll take a look at that as well. I'm not the biggest fan of Aussie dollar's current price action. It's quite messy, to be honest. Personally, I'm staying away. I still do like the buys around that 0.62s, 0.62500 area. I think the buys still look very, very good. Oh, you did out of the trade now. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't really like Aussie dollar. It's very, very messy, but I think there's value if we do come down to that 0.62, 65 area. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that. And I think the risk reward, if it does play out how I think it will, yeah, there's great risk reward opportunities there. Anywho, let's go through some pairs before I forget. So I'll go through Euro CHF, and then we'll take a look at Aussie, New Zealand dollar. I'll go through Aussie dollar as well. I do have a trade on pound Aussie, which we can take a look at as well. I was also debating entering pound NZD as well, but I decided to go with pound Aussie. Okay, let's go with Euro CHF. So, Ivan, you said you've gone long on this one. Where's your message? Okay, so buy, stop loss underneath the low, take profit around 0.941, which is about there. So basically the swing high. Entry 0.93560. That's around there-ish. And stop loss underneath the low. So you're looking to try and swing it back into resistance. I like the entry. I like the location of everything. I like the stop loss as well. Come back into a nice area because, of course, this is the swing which gave us this move to the upside. And now price has come back into the low. And I like where the stop loss is because if price was to come and hit your stop loss, then unless it was just like a wick, and price kind of wicked it out, that's different. You can always look to re-enter that, to be honest. But if price was to push down and close down here, then I wouldn't be having that bullish bias at all. At that point, you would expect price to probably push back into support. If price is still going to have that rally, still going to push higher, well, this is kind of like the last area which I would expect that to happen from. Because if this is the swing low, which gave us the swing high, technically speaking, price can pull back anywhere within that leg before continuing to the upside. So because price is now coming right down to the low, you can get your stop loss underneath that area and allow yourself to potentially capitalize on that swing. So in terms of the location, I think it's in a great place. Risk to reward looks decent there. Probably looking at at least a 1 to 2 there. So that's looking pretty good as well. I think take profit is in a sensible place. And I like the entry too. Nice, nice shift of momentum. Really nice candle on the hourly chart, actually. I know you entered a little bit earlier, but that's a solid close this morning here. Wait, did you? No, you entered on that candle there. But yeah, that's a really nice entry candle. Really nice entry candle on the hourly chart because price is kind of bottoming out here and the momentum's completely shifted and a very strong close, kind of breaking out of the consolidation here on the lower time frames and making a really nice statement with that bullish engulfing candle. And again, bullish engulfing candles are very, very simple, but they can be very, very effective if you use them well. If you go and trade every single bullish engulfing and bearish engulfing candle, probably won't end up too well for you. But if you can be very precise and use them well, like this candle here, that's a very nice sign. Of course, even if it does shape out well, it doesn't guarantee it's going to work out, but it does put probability very much in your favor. So I really like the entry. Nice place for a stop loss, and targets look pretty healthy as well. So we'll see how that goes. I'm still pretty bearish on this CHF currency as well. I think we can still see some weakness there. I do think Aussie CHF, New Zealand CHF, CAD CHF still has room to the upside. Not really looking to trade Euro CHF myself, but if CHF is going to be weak, I'm expecting Euro Swiss to push up as well. And also Aussie New Zealand dollar. Now this pair I'm not the biggest fan of, but it does sometimes give me opportunities which I will of course look to take if everything looks good. Sell after 2 hour, 1 hour time frame retracement, ideally to 1.09. So back into that area there. I like daily stopping candlesticks. What's daily stopping candlesticks? What am I doing? I mean, I like where we're trading. Price, of course, has come back to retest the low here, which, of course, is now going to be turning resistance. So I like where we're trading. The market has been pretty consistent with the swings here as well. Initially one over there, second, potentially a third. And I like the way price has got there as well. Very slow, very corrective, very grindy. This is the type of price action you would expect to eventually give us a bit of a sell. So I think in terms of how price is moving, where we're trading, it does look good for a short, especially if you can get some stops above the high there as well. Aussie New Zealand dollar is a choppy pair, so I wouldn't expect price to just flush completely to the downside. We might consolidate for a little bit, maybe even have one more push to the upside before dropping. But I would have a pretty bearish bias here for Aussie New Zealand dollar. I do think we can continue further. You can even argue that that candle there could even be an entry on that last 4 hour close. Looks to me that price is kind of just about breaking through that trend line. It's not a confident break, but you could argue that price is below that trend line there. But yeah, in my opinion, I think it's a nice place for a short, to be honest. It is a nice place for a short. We are still kind of respecting support just below us here. So maybe that might cause a little bit of consolidation. But again, I do think we can have a bit of a drop there. Targets, I mean, potentially you could look to swing the trade back to the lows here. So there is a lot of distance for the trade. I'm just not a big fan of the conditions. When conditions are very choppy like this, I don't normally try to look for big swings because there's a chance that price goes and finds support and returns back to my entry price. But it could be a situation where you have multiple targets and maybe that low there could be a final one. But yeah, I do agree with the bias. I do agree with the trade setup. It does look good for a short. So yeah, I do agree with both of those setups. Okay, so I'll go through Aussie dollar quickly. What's up, Yusuf? Hope you're doing good. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, so okay, yeah, I do agree. Aussie New Zealand dollar does look good for a short. Just not a big fan of the pair, but yeah, if you can get stops above the high, I think that's a smart trade. Please thoughts on Euro USD, Pound Yen, and gold. Sorry for the long list, no problem. On the 50-minute chart as well, Yusuf. Normally you ask for the 15. Let me go through Aussie dollar. So yeah, Aussie dollar, things are looking very weird. I like the buys like we've gone through before. I like the buys at 0.62, 62500. This area here roughly. I think that's a smart area for a buy. I'm looking at potentially a bit of an inverse head and shoulder pattern. There's your left, there's your head, there's your right shoulder. And from there, I do think we can see a lot more upside. So very, very bullish on Aussie dollar longer term. I do feel like this is a bit of a bottom for price to rally. But as we can see, we're looking very fatigued here in this ascending channel. So I do feel like we can push down. So I do understand looking to try and take advantage of some selling opportunities on the way down and then taking advantage of the buy. But it's just difficult to take a trade because where you're going to put a stop loss. Entries are never really that hard to find. You can always just buy or sell the market wherever it is. But putting a stop loss has to be effective. It has to be an effective place that, okay, if price does hit my stop loss, well, likely my bias was incorrect. And I'll probably say a stop loss above the highs there makes the most sense. But even then, price could just, do that and then come back down again because we are in that kind of ascending nature. But if I had to, stops above the high makes the most sense. And of course, entering here with stops there does skew my risk reward quite a lot. I'll probably just rather wait for the buy. And to be honest, with the way price is still holding on to these higher lows, I don't think it's a great short anyway. So yeah, Aussie dollar, I do expect us to sell off. We're just very, very ascending here. So I do think price is likely to push down. But I'm only interested in the buys. I think that's where the bigger move will be. I think that's where the cleaner move will be. So I'm going to just kind of focus my attention on the longs there for now. Okay, Euro Yen, I will take a look as well. So Kel. Okay, so I'll go through some of those on the 15 as well. Okay, 15. So yeah, in terms of the 50-minute time frame, we spoke about these yesterday. I believe they probably just moved sideways, haven't they? So yeah, on the 50-minute time frame, we were speaking about Euro USD yesterday. And I said if price can get a nice counter trend line break, we can kind of get some continuation. Well, then after that, there could be some nice pullback opportunities, perhaps a retest of the prior low, and then some shorts from there could look good. Didn't get that. Price did break through the counter trend line, but never really got going. Didn't break through the low, which is again pivotal if you are going to create some bearish structure. We didn't do that. So price right now is very, very sideways. So personally, I don't really see any opportunity right now for Euro USD on the 15. The market's very, very flat. We're not seeing higher highs or higher lows or lower lows and lower lows and lower lows. Market is kind of just squeezing right now. So I would personally stay away from the 15 until I start to see some momentum in a direction. If we could see something like this, that would be great. Then the pullbacks, of course, after that would make a lot more sense. maybe a retest of the low somewhere. We'll make that mind up. We'll make our mind up when it does form. But I still do have a bearish bias. I still do think price can get back to lows down here. So that's still my expectation. But in terms of trading that, either you can probably look for some shorts at the high. I think that could be a nice place for a stop loss above the high. But even better if you can see some structure come into play and look for some pullback somewhere. Pound USD, same situation, I would believe as well. So yeah, Pound USD, this one as well. I do think price is likely to push down. Looks like potentially we've topped out around here because this move has been very, very corrective. So I would expect us to push down whenever I see price action like this. Definitely after an impulse, always expecting price to push down. Of course, doesn't mean it happens every time, but more often than not, you would expect price to push down. So in terms of trading that, well, ideally you kind of want to be up at the highs there. So I would say that ship has kind of sailed. So, but again, for Pound USD, I would expect price to come back into the lows there. If that is the case, then if we could see a push down, perhaps the next pullback could be worthwhile to trade and probably be a much simpler trade to take as well. Because at that point, we've got some bearish structure, lows have been taken out, probably some nice momentum as well. Then some pullbacks will make the most sense. And then we still have room to trade into if we are still going to push back into the lows there. So yeah, just not really seeing much of an opportunity right now for pound or euro. My bias is still bearish, so that's where I see the market heading towards. But in terms of trading it, not really seeing much of an opportunity, at least not yet anyway. Pound JPY in the 15. Okay, so pound JPY is still very corrective, but again, losing momentum. So again, it looks like we're potentially bottoming out, getting ready for a push up. I spoke about some buys yesterday for this one. If you could break to the upside, see a retest of some structure, and then continue from there, that could be a nice setup. Haven't got that yet, of course. Price is still kind of correctively falling, but again, that's the key there. Price is still correctively falling. So the move to the upside, I think, is still likely. And again, I'm looking for a higher low to form on the 4-hour chart, to continue this bullish trend here. So we're in an area where that higher low could form and we could see a push up. So if you're looking to trade it on the 15-minute time frame, well, I would wait to see price break structure first to get that indication that, okay, the higher low is likely forming here. And then simply look for corrections of that. So a retest of structure, either that high or this high, depends how we break out and depends how we pull back. But on paper, that's kind of what I'll be looking for on the 15-minute chart. It looks like price is forming a low here, so I'm not interested to keep selling it, especially when we're looking pretty fatigued right now. I will look for that break and then some follow through afterwards. And onto gold as well. Gold, I talked about some buys yesterday. Didn't really see much of an opportunity to trade that. I was talking about potentially a rally through this and some pullbacks. Perhaps the retest of the high there. Price just kind of rallied like no tomorrow. So no real opportunity to trade it there. As of right now, how would I look to tackle this? It's a bit more difficult, this one. I think this still looks like a nice area for a buy. It depends how you react with it. I wouldn't look for anything crazy because the market, I would still say, is bearish in the 15. Still seeing lower lows and lower highs. But I like the rally here. I like how corrective we look here as well. So that does give me confidence that we can see a bit of a reaction. If we can get it back to the swing high there, I think that's a great trade in itself, and you can call it a day from there. But this to me still looks like a smart trade. Let's see if we can get there, react well, and possibly find some long opportunities off the back of that. And if we can see a swing back to resistance, that's a great trade. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on the 15 there for those pairs. Not really seeing clean opportunities or any opportunities at the moment. I will still wait for some more development before finding any entries. Where was I? Okay, so I'll go through Euro Yen for Sir Kel. Poppy, Islamic tax bill. How do you account for this while trading? Well, it's the same with how you account for anything, Poppy, in terms of tax. You've always got to put money aside for tax. trading is no different. It's the exact same situation. Out of your profits, you gotta put money aside. But of course, if you're not thinking about it, it can definitely catch you off guard. But it's the same as any other business. Yeah, you gotta put money away. I don't trust my discipline. Well, it's either that or the taxman comes and gets you. New Zealand yen, we'll take a look. Vladone, hope I'm saying that correctly. What's up, J-Zone? Good morning. I hope you are well. Okay, so I'll go through Euro yen, New Zealand yen as well, a couple yen pairs, and I'll go through my position in pound Aussie. So Euro JPY. Yeah, so not really interested with the market with this price action anymore. It's just very, very choppy. So I'm not really looking to trade it. I mean, it did break structure, so that's the reason why I'm not looking to trade it. Because again, when I'm looking to try and catch lower highs and buy higher lows, it's always with the expectation that price isn't going to go break structure. If price does go and do that, then it does invalidate my bias, which we technically just about got the close above there on the 4 hour chart. So it does put me off any sell opportunities. Doesn't mean price can't still go down, but at least I probably won't be the one trading it anymore. So with that, potentially Euro yen has a bit more room to the upside before maybe we do go for a sell. Looking at potentially a push back into the high there at 166.595. Drop into the 4 hour chart. I'm seeing steady higher highs and higher lows. So we got the low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high. And potentially we are going to look to form a new higher low. I would expect to see another rally to the upside. We're very, very corrective, but we're very consistent with these higher lows. If price was to go and break through this swing point, well, that would change things. If I was to see a strong move breaking through that low, well, maybe price is going to form a top and then potentially sell off. But of course, that hasn't happened yet. So at the moment, I would still expect to buy. In terms of location, I mean, we have come back into a nice-ish area of demand there, where we did consolidate for a few candles before breaking to the upside. It's the first time price is coming back to retest it. So it's a nice area to buy from. Nothing really significant. Well, I'll get too excited myself. But should we form potentially a bit of a double bottom here, price kind of really shows healthy signs of rejection, this could end up being a nice place for an entry for a stop loss below the lows and possibly targets back at the high there. And I do think there's room past that as well. So Euro yen, I would be looking at this from a bullish perspective. I do think we can see a bit of a rally on the JPY basket. I do think there's room to the downside for this one. We've pulled back and now, we're trading at an area where a lower high could form. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 over there. Potentially a fifth could look to form there before we do come back down. So I think the yen basket potentially could be looking at a bit of a drop. If the yen basket does drop, well, that means yen's going to be weak. And of course, that should help out Euro yen to the upside as well. So that's where my bias comes from. But I must admit, not a big fan of the price action. Very, very choppy. Yeah, I think there are other yen pairs that look a lot cleaner than that one. In terms of New Zealand yen, well, same situation. This had a very strong reaction last night. Like I said, NZD and Aussie were pretty bullish. Strong close. It did technically break some structure here, but I don't think it's too important because this is a more minor structure. The key thing I'm looking at for New Zealand yen is that we've broken structure to the upside there. So what I'm looking at is a pullback of this leg here for a retracement and then a continuation. Basically like a inverse head and shoulder pattern. So your left head, right shoulder, and of course that being a neckline there. So I still do think there's more upside here for New Zealand yen. In terms of taking any entries, I mean, maybe we hold them to support and push higher from here. I'm not quite convinced, to be honest. I feel like price still has a bit more room to the downside before we do really push on, which is kind of what I'm looking for because I'm interested in taking some buys on New Zealand yen. Preferably, I'd like to see a push back into 83.5. That would be ideally the best place for me for a buy. Maximize risk to reward, come back into healthy area of support. That would be a nice retracement, probably back into 0.5, maybe 0.618. So it'd be a very healthy correction if we can get pushed into that level. But we'll have to see. Any which way, I do think there's more upside to be had for New Zealand yen. So yeah, pretty bullish. Perhaps price has put the high low and we do push from here. I'm not quite convinced, to be honest. I feel like there is still a bit more downside left for New Zealand yen. But yeah, the bigger move I see is likely to the upside, back into resistance, maybe some higher highs. So just getting ready for a buy. Not quite ready yet for me to get in. Again, just because I say it's not quite ready, it doesn't mean the market can't still rally. It's just based on my plan and how I want to trade. I wouldn't look to take the buy just yet. I'll wait for a bit more development, a bit more downside before I do hop into any longs. But my expectation is a swing back to highs. So yeah, that's my take there for New Zealand yen. No problem. Happy to help. So your current price for DXY is short-term bullish, long-term bearish. Yeah, at least bullish until 102.5 before turning bearish. Right? Yeah, at least 102.5. That's what my take. Okay, nice. Yeah, pretty much looking at something similar to that, to be honest. Cease integrated. I'm looking at least 102.5, preferably 103.5. To be honest, if I can see a pullback into that kind of zone, maybe testing the 50 of that fib. I drew a fib from the swing high to the swing low there. And if I could see price come back into that consolidation plus the 50, I feel like that'll be a very healthy correction and a good area for us to continue selling the market from, back into the lows there. But yeah, in terms of the kind of short, medium term, it's not really short term because that can still take us a week or two. So it's not really short term. It's just shorter than my longer term bias. But yeah, I do think there's upside there for the dollar. I'm looking at this bullish structure, nice higher highs and higher lows. Lovely swing to the upside the past couple of weeks. Still looking at this as retracement. We've since come back to retest structure here. It's held a support pretty well. I think as long as that stays true and price doesn't suddenly go and break through that, then I do think we are likely to continue to push to the upside. So yeah, very, very bullish on the dollar. And yeah, very bearish on the dollar at the same time as well. I do think some big shorts are on the way, but there might still be a couple of weeks from that happening. But yeah, that's kind of my take there on USD as a currency. So yeah, in terms of my current trade, I did hop onto some pound Aussie shorts on the 4-hour chart. I was debating between pound Aussie and pound NZD. I talked about pound NZD a few times that I'm looking to short this. I do think the trend is potentially coming to an end, and we could be looking at price somewhat reversing. I'm not necessarily looking to capitalize on a reversal. It's just I feel like price is likely going to correct itself, even if it is going to continue higher. That is something which I could potentially look to capitalize on, back into resistance there. We've got the COVID highs here. I do feel like price can at least come back to retest it, even if it is going to continue. And maybe we do reverse from here. But the market's been very, very corrective. We had this very, very kind of substantial rejection there. We had a very strong push up, very strong push back down. So I'm kind of looking at that as potentially forming a bit of a top to this trend. And maybe price is forming up a lower high here to continue back down. So pound NZD, I was debating taking the entry here. Had a nice push back into resistance. This is where I said I would look to short pound NZD from if we can respect this high. Looking at an entry on that bearish engulfing candle, stops above the high there. At least targets back into support, so that would be the initial target of the trade. Basically to trade that range there. But again, have an expectation that we could go a little bit further and probably push back down into 2.17487. So that was the idea I had in pound NZD, but I decided to go for pound Aussie. I wasn't going to go for both because pound Aussie, pound NZD, they do pretty much the same thing, don't they? So if I take this trade, take the other trade, they probably both will play out or both not play out. I chose pound Aussie just because I like momentum a bit more in this market. We've had a sharp move, consolidation, sharp move. Looking at this, another consolidation / retracement for hopefully another sharp move. Comparing it to pound NZD, we're a bit more flat. I know we did have a big move there, but it was very corrective and we're just kind of a bit more flat. So I think I would have a bit more of a smoother ride with pound NZD, with pound Aussie, sorry, rather than pound NZD. And also, I do think we'll probably see a little bit more strength as well with Aussie potentially. But yeah, I chose pound Aussie. Hopefully we can see some more continuation there. Again, the entry pretty much the same idea. Price push back into resistance, strong rejection, nice 4-hour confirmation there. Stops above the high. Again, looking to at least see if I can ride it back into support here, which is 2.05, but I have marked out this high here as my target for the trade. If I expand to the weekly chart, again, major resistance. We had the breakout. I do think price is on its way to come back to retest it. Similar situation to pound NZD in terms of we've taken out COVID highs back from 2020. Naturally, I do think we can see a bit more downside from this. Personally, I do think we can come back and even retest this high, but I don't want to be too greedy with the trade. This is still counter trend. It's not a position where you want to force too much because the buyers are still largely in control of this market, and the trend very much can still continue. But I do think we've hit a bit of a top here. We're starting to form some nice bearish structure. Had the double top over there, had the low, another lower high, low. Now this is going to be, I'm anticipating to be the next lower high for again another low to be created. So yeah, that's position I hopped in. It was between this and pound NZD. I decided to go with pound Aussie. We'll see how it gets on. This week market structure is just confusing me, and last week it wasn't the case. Yeah, I mean, not every week's going to be the same as well, Yusuf. I mean, as you gain experience, as you trade, you understand that not every week is going to be a fantastic week, and not every week is going to be a very poor week as well. Just like you have weeks that price action is looking very trash. You still have to turn up because next week the price action could be great and it could fit your strategy very well, and could be a very, very profitable week the following week after messy price action this week, and of course vice versa. Just because you have a very good week in the markets doesn't necessarily mean that next week you're going to have a great week as well. It could be a horrendous week, but you got to manage the risk through all of that and stay consistent with your edge, because at the end of the day, that's all you've got. Price action comes and goes. Good price action comes and goes. Bad price action comes and goes. Consistency is vital through all of that. But yeah, not every week's going to be great, unfortunately. Pound CHF sell, price closed under the 4-hour higher low, now waiting retracement to sell. Also head and shoulder confidence. Okay, I'll go take a look. Not confirmed head and shoulder yet, but maybe right shoulder is okay. I'll go take a look at pound CHF for you, no problem. CS, I have a few small entries that I'm holding on from 100.330. These will not be intraday trades. Okay. So you're looking for bigger swing positions there. Where is 100.330? Okay, so that's around here. So you're looking to swing those positions. Still doing intraday shorts for Euro, USD, and pound. Okay, nice. Yeah, I think there's downside on the card for those two currencies as well. Yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna not every week's gonna be great. Yeah, exactly, Poppy. Sometimes it's hard to choose because there's too many opportunities. At least it sounds like you have a concrete trading strategy. Yeah, that's the important thing. That's the important thing. But yeah, it's both sides of the coin. You know, some weeks there'll be so many opportunities you don't want to overtrade, you don't want to overdo it, and that's where risk management comes in. You know, what's your max positions or max loss for the week? You don't want to violate that, even if there is a lot of opportunities. And same when there's hardly any opportunities. You know, you want to make sure you don't try and force anything when there's nothing there. And both sides of that are very, very important parts of trading, because you know, some people take trades when they don't need to be taking trades, and sometimes the difference between profitability and unprofitability is just getting rid of the bad trades that don't need to be there. You know, you might be taking quite a few unnecessary losses, and that could be holding you back. Simply not taking those positions can be the difference between you know, unprofitability and profitability. So definitely something to consider. I'll go take a look at pound CHF. I still want to go through the rest of the yen pairs. Okay, swing to 101.8 at least for DXY. 101.8, so that'll take us back to the highs here. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Cease integrated. I think it's a nice position very well. You know, if we are going to form a high low, then this is where I expect the high low to form. And if the swing is going to continue, then I would naturally expect us to return back to resistance there. Of course, I do have areas which I'm looking for price to get to, which are much further. But again, a sensible trade back to the swing high makes sense. And like you said, potentially look to push it further. So yeah, big fan of that. Big fan of that there for the dollar. Pound CHF, Ivan, you mentioned shorts for that one, possible head and shoulder opportunity. I think I see what you're referring to, left head, and then, you know, possible right shoulder could look to form there. There's your neckline of the pattern. Yeah, I do like it, but then I also don't like it as well. I've spoken about pound CHF a few times this week. I said, yes, pound CHF coming back into a nice area of resistance. You look to our left. This is the weekly chart, by the way. You can see numerous wicks there. Price, of course, has had a very tough time trying to break through resistance here. So this is clearly a level price is respecting very, very well. And of course, this week you can see a bit of a wick to the upside. I know we've still got 11 hours left, but yeah, a wick is showing some nice rejection. I doubt we'll go fill the wick completely by the end of the day. So we are seeing some nice rejection there. But humongous move down. I mentioned yesterday, I feel like targets around the high here or the low here are sensible and likely. Anything further, I feel like you're asking a lot from pound CHF based on the way price is moving, because essentially we are in a big range here. So I wouldn't really be looking to try and find any continuation trades in a range, even with the momentum we had not long ago. So yeah, my main concern is that price might push down, but I think a higher low forming and push up is a pretty likely outcome there. So I would be very wary of that happening and taking some profits at that level there, or at least going to break even. So if that was to happen, yeah, I'm not going to take an unnecessary loss in that position. But yeah, I think it's in a nice place for a short. That right shoulder can form there. I think that could be a nice opportunity for an entry. But I would say targets back to these areas look good. Anything further, I think, is a bit optimistic. Again, maybe we do drop further, but I would be careful of that, because I do think a higher low is pretty likely to form, to be honest, with pound Swiss. Okay, definitely looking for a big swing down. Okay, max 1.093. Okay, back to support there. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, I agree with that. I just think the condition of pound CHF don't really warrant a big swing, you know, back to lows here. But something like that, 1.093 makes sense to me. 1.104 makes sense to me. I feel like a higher lows has a good chance of falling. But in terms of the location where we're trading, I think it is a good short. You know, massive resistance. You can see that on the weekly chart even. We're struggling to break through this area. So as long as that can sustain, then yeah, I think it's a great place for an entry. As long as you don't be too greedy with targets, I feel like it's a decent trade to look at with pound Swiss there. Okay, so I'm going to go through the rest of the yen pairs. So yen pairs have been pretty interesting. I do think there's upside for this one, for them. No problem, Ivan, happy to help. So I do think there's more upside for the yen pairs. I did say New Zealand yen is something I'm interested in. So New Zealand yen, I probably will look to add this one to the watch list next week if it doesn't rally up without me right now. Like I said, I do think price can still go a little bit further to the downside before we do push up. Maybe we don't, maybe we rally there. Of course, I don't have control over that. If that's the case, that's the case. But if we do come back to the downside a little bit further, preferably 84 even, that would be really, really nice. Yeah, I will look to add this to the watch list for next week. Aussie yen, same situation. Most of the time, whenever I'm looking for an opportunity on New Zealand yen, most of the time I'm looking for an opportunity on Aussie yen as well, pretty much the same one. And I'm always just seeing which is the better one, which potentially could give me the better risk to reward or the better entry. And right now, I can't really split the two, just going to keep an eye on both. Similar to pound Aussie and pound NZD I had this morning. Both look good, both give me similar entries. Both will probably end up doing the same thing. I just picked the better one. And in this case was pound Aussie, but we'll see the difference between Aussie yen and New Zealand yen when I actually start getting some entry signals. But again, the idea, same situation, basically in terms of I'm looking at an inverse head and shoulder forming here. There's your left, there's your head. Possibly your right shoulder could be forming there, and that could then take us to the upside. Of course, there's your neckline. So at least a push back into the neckline. But I always do expect the neckline to break when I'm trading head and shoulder patterns. If I am going to get in on that right shoulder, whether it's inverted or the regular head and shoulder pattern, I'm always looking to take profit past the neckline, because my expectation is that if this is a head and shoulder pattern, we should be breaking that. Of course, maybe you can lock in some gains there, go to break even, but my expectation is that we're probably going to go further than that. So again, I do think there's a lot of upside to be had here with Aussie yen as well. So just like New Zealand yen, looking for a little bit more downside before I do find any opportunities. We had a nice reaction overnight, but I still think it's too early to get into the buy. Again, when I'm looking for entries for trades as well, especially longer swing positions, very rarely do I want to be the first person into the market, especially when we've had a big drop like this and then we've seen the first reaction. Very rarely do I want to take that, even if it is in the area of confluence. I kind of want price to develop a little bit and then give me an entry, maybe on the second or third attempt really, and take that trade, because from my experience, always being the first person, the first reaction, never really, actually I shouldn't say never, likely isn't the move, especially in FX. FX, we tend to mess around. If it was always the first reaction, or more often not the first reaction, then you would see the market kind of move like this a lot. But the market doesn't move like that. It kind of pushes down, maybe a little bit of correct, then it pushes, and maybe double top, and then maybe consolidation. It moves more like that. So the first reaction is sometimes a bit of a distraction. I do think more downside is likely, and we've got this level just underneath us as well. So it would be great to see price kind of just come over, hit that level, and then see some upside. And we've got some big targets, at least a push back to the higher there. But as I said, I do think we can go further. So Aussie and New Zealand yen longs, I'll look to add that to the watch list next week. I'm not really a big fan of pound yen longs. I do think we'll likely to see a swing to the upside as well. The reason I'm not a big fan of them is because we're fairly close to resistance up here, and because we haven't really had a big fall. With pound yen, we're kind of just in this kind of stagnant channel, if you will. So I don't think this is the best place for a buy for a swing trader. Intraday trader, sure. I think you can catch a nice long there for a day or two, maybe even longer as well. But I just don't think that's the best place to position myself long for pound yen in this area. Whereas in Aussie yen and New Zealand yen's case, we're in a much better place. Reason being, we've had a big decline in price over the past few weeks, few months. So we're more likely to push up because we're more stretched to the downside. Same case with New Zealand yen as well. Markets had a pretty big move down, so I'm happier to take longs here because I feel like price naturally has room to push into. I'm not saying that pound yen can't go higher, but I feel like I'm better positioned for those pairs than for pound yen. So pound yen, not really interested in myself. Like I said, I do think we can still push up. I'm still looking to basically anticipate this bullish structure here continuing. So the bias is still bullish, but just not a trade that I'll be looking to take. Same situation as euro yen. I do think there's a swing to the upside, but market's very choppy, more or less trading at resistance here. I've already seen a big move initially. Not really liking the momentum, so for those reasons I'm staying away. Dollar yen's okay, but I just feel like Aussie yen and New Zealand yen look a lot better. But I also do think dollar yen's in a nice place for a buy too. I mean, preferably, I probably would like dollar yen to fall even further so we can come back and retest some structure here. Because initially, coming into the week, I was looking to see if we can bounce from this level. That didn't happen, of course. Now we're actually trading underneath it. I know we kind of filled this gap here too. But ideally, I want price to be reacting, to support levels. So this is kind of where I would like to find some entries. We're not quite there yet. Perhaps we do get there next week. But again, dollar yen, I do have somewhat of a bullish bias. I do think we can push higher. Longer term, I'm still looking to see what we can do at this area. I think longer term, there is definitely a strong possibility for a sell there. I'm seeing these major highs, 1, 2, perhaps a third one in that area. That's something that can definitely entice me for some selling opportunities. DXY strength coming in. Ooh, are we seeing that? I mean, I'm not sure why I'm getting excited. I'm not in any USD positions, but I know you are. Yeah, DXY strength is coming in a little bit there. Drop to the hourly chart. Here we are seeing a bit of a rally. There's still a bit of noise ahead of us though. See, it's integrated, where things can get a little bit choppy there. We are approaching some confluence there where maybe buyers might find it a little bit more difficult now. It's been a nice rally since morning, since the low here. Nice rally, but we have to see what we can do in this area because, again, maybe we could form a lower high and push back down again. Even if that was to happen, again, as long as we don't break out of the lows here, I still think the bounce is likely. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe we get the rally now, maybe later onwards. But yeah, we are looking strong. Let's just see if that can continue through the noise there. Because there's some resistance, supply areas above us, which might make things a little bit more interesting. But I do think there's more downside to be had. I do think there's more upside to be had with USD. So even if you do push down, as long as you don't break 100.2 roughly, I like it. Yeah, so back to the yen pairs. CAD yen, not really the biggest fan of this one, to be honest. I think the price action is just very messy. Yeah. Again, when I'm looking at markets, I want to see kind of clean trends, direction. If I can see that's great. Those are the conditions which I'm looking to trade. When markets look like this, especially with my style, that's not really how I want to be looking to get into markets. Really, when things are moving, like in here, things are moving up, moving down. That's conditions I want. This is conditions I don't want to see. I don't want to get in the middle of that. Yeah, that's not what I want to see. And CAD yen is getting that sort of vibe right now. So unless we can potentially break to the upside and start to see a bit of a trend again, then I'll be looking for opportunities. But ideally, not really looking to try and find anything in here. I mean, I still do have a bullish bias for CAD yen. I still do think we can rally higher. I still think that's the likely move next. Are we testing this level? We are. We are at a nice level as well. But just because of the conditions, it does put me off the trade a lot. And that's been something that, as I've gained more experience, I've add more meaning to, more weighting to. Because before, I'll just be like, okay, if the setup looks good, I'll take the trade anyway. Even if conditions are very, very choppy, I'll still take the trade. But as I've reviewed past trades, look back over my analysis, I can definitely see a correlation between if things are trending, swings playing out versus things are choppy, swings not quite playing out, being a bit more difficult to trade, more unnecessary losses. So I'd rather just wait for conditions to be trending well and then getting involved there. But I still do favor that to happen. But because of the condition, I'll stay away personally. And then CHF JPY as well. This one still more or less at resistance. This one's already had a pretty nice bullish swing, but more or less coming back into this kind of territory. So I'm personally not really looking to buy it. I still do think there's a big move to the downside to be had with Swiss yen. Because we're at all-time highs, so it's the same logic as with Aussie CHF and New Zealand CHF, why I've expected them to recover and see a lot more upside, because they're coming from all-time lows. Same situation for Swiss yen, coming from all-time highs. I do think price can push down. I know we're not at all-time highs now. Those are the all-time highs over there. But I still do think there's a big push down to be had. But not really seeing a clear-cut opportunity. This is kind of very sideways market right now. So personally, I don't really have a setup or a bias here, or at least one that I'm looking to trade myself. So not much to report on for Swiss yen. Just open my trading view chart after many months of slim pickings. It's a nice little welcome back there, Poppy. Back to the charts. There you go. How come it's been many months? Just been taking a break from trading or focusing on other things? Well, same thing really, isn't it? Antonio, also rate cuts next month for the Swiss franc. Looks like CHF is setting up for that. That could be it as well. Sometimes we do see a little bit of a stalemate between currencies, especially when a interest rate decision is around the corner. When is it next month? Is it early next month? Because I mean, we've still got a while. I mean, we're only in mid-May right now, so we could be seeing price action being a little bit dry between now and a few weeks, to be honest. Just scan through the news on next week. Nothing too crazy next week, to be honest. I'm just seeing a lot of CPI for CAD, which again, unless you're trading CAD, not really a big event. Like of course CPI for dollar, CPI for euro, which again, unless you're trading euro, not really too interested in. I'm not really looking to trade euro, to be honest. Pound and Aussie are the two I'm interested in. Maybe NZD and yen too. Ooh, we got Aussie interest rate decision. I just missed that. Tuesday, rates expected to drop, which should not be good for Aussie, which shouldn't be good for my trade, but we'll see. Hopefully maybe I could be break even by then, but we'll see. But yeah, interest rates 5:30 in the morning, Tuesday, next Tuesday. Okay, June 19th. Okay, we still got a whole month for that then. Yeah, looking to push rates into the negative. Yeah. That could be very interesting. Negative rates. Good morning, Antonia. What's up? Daniel, want to analyze a chart? I do have a video on that. If you go to my YouTube channel, there's a playlist called Forex Education. You might have to scroll through it a little bit because I'm not too sure where the video is, or you can probably just search on YouTube, to be honest. But I do have a video in that playlist that does talk about how to analyze a chart. Oh, tax bill stung you. Had to empty my trading account, start investing, selling PCs. Okay, it's too much work for not enough profit. Fair enough. Yeah. Trading can be a little bit annoying from that perspective because, of course, it takes money to make money. But yeah, that is a shame. But you'll be back, Poppy. You'll be back. Campbell, top of the morning to you. What's up, my man? Hope you're well. Okay, procrastinate for the last few months. Yeah, trading can be like that sometimes, to be honest. Again, I feel like, trading can be, quite pressurized and stressful as well. But I feel like you just got to get the fun back into trading sometimes because, when you started trading, it was fun. You had a lot of excitement to it. What is this new thing? Let me learn how to read the markets, potentially make profit from it. I feel like getting that excitement back into trading again, and not putting too much pressure, is very, very important as well. Of course, you have to make returns to make it worthwhile, but getting that joy back into trading is quite important too. It's just me, the news have been rather underwhelming lately, especially after tariff sagas. Yeah, NFP didn't really do too much, did it? NFP was very short-lived, slight reaction, not much. CPI, USD as well, barely budged the market. We had a bit of a reaction, but again, nothing crazy. And again, times like this comes into fashion and goes out of fashion pretty quickly. I remember times when things are very violent, everyone's very much on edge, and you see big reaction from CPI. CPI is moving like the Fed interest rate. That's how reactive the markets can be to it. And other times, the market barely budges, and the market goes in and out of those cycles where potential news events have a lot of meaning. They always do have a lot of meaning, but in terms of how the market reacts to it, and when the market doesn't react a lot. I suppose this is just the period where the market's not really reacting too much. There's times where NFP causes like a 25-30 pip move. There's sometimes where NFP causes 100 to 150 pip move. Times like that will come and go. I remember maybe like a year and a half ago, CPI was never really an event I was actually too focused on. I was always keeping an eye on NFP and the Fed interest rate, and pretty much any interest rate for any currency I was trading at the time. But CPI, USD was never really, it's a big event, but it's never really caused so much reaction in the market. But recently, for the past, I would say, year and a half, CPI has become a pretty big event in terms of how the market reacts to it. So for the past year and a half, CPI is something I've actually looked at a lot more closely now. That could change. Maybe CPI potentially loses that strength, and maybe the markets don't react too much to it anymore. Who knows? But yeah, things come and go. I think that's a key thing to note. Well, yeah, Poppy, you're gonna learn from that mistake. Yeah, there's always a lesson. Ahmed, yes, BTC. I haven't actually looked at BTC. What is happening over here? Okay, we're still very sideways. So yesterday I talked about two areas where buys could look good for BTC. First area, a retest of that consolidation. Second area, I said a retest of support here. The support level did hold. I said basically if the market's going to be very, very bullish, we might only see a test of this area and price might rally from there. If the market wants to have a bit more of a breather, we might break through this level and potentially come back to 97, 98K. So something like this is going to be a little bit more interesting and perhaps a really nice place to swing from. I mean, ideally, I'd rather buy from here than there because better discount. But yeah, price has held on to support there pretty well. So again, ideally, you want to find some entries here and then manage the trade from there. We haven't really ripped and set the market alight yet, so no new highs have been taken out. I do think price can still rally. If we do come back down again, then same situation applies. More buying opportunities could look good, take price higher. Maybe we work through the low a little bit, then push. So I think generally speaking, buys in that area look good. Again, if that area doesn't hold well, then this area becomes interesting again. I like it a lot. Really strong push to the upside from that zone. So we held consolidation very well, then broke to the upside very, very aggressively. So I think that's a very smart place to buy from. And of course, naturally speaking, expecting price to push back into resistance there and probably some new all-time highs as well. So the bias, the direction is very, very straightforward for Bitcoin. Looking to buy it, markets in a bullish climate. I still do see a lot more upside with this pair. But entries, I'm seeing only two opportunities, 101, 500, 97, 98K. If you didn't enter here, then you're looking for price to get back there to enter. And of course, if that level doesn't hold, didn't mean to do that. If that level doesn't hold, then let me wait for the second level. Maybe there might be an opportunity on a break and retest. So break the high, then take some buys like that, possibly. But I'd rather the pullbacks. But yeah, Bitcoin very, very bullish. I do think more upside is on the cards. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just keep a spreadsheet of everything. Even just if you trade on MT4, I'm not too sure about C Trader. I suppose C Trader will have its own like account history. I've never traded on it before, so I don't know, but I would guess it would do. But if you trade on MT4, MT5, you can always download your account history and it'll have all your trades there, profit and loss, the overall profit and loss, and profit loss whatever given time you want. So we'll have that all in detail, every position, every loss, profit, all in detail as well. So that's pretty handy to keep to use because it has everything flat out there. But of course, a personal journal could help as well. And that way, you can be a bit more detailed with it, but you've always got that to rely upon as well. Let me go through some of the other crosses, and I'll go through some CHF pairs and some indices as well. We are coming to the end of the week, so I'm going to keep an eye on see how the weekly candles close, because they always do give me a nice insight in terms of what potentially could happen next week. With the CHF pairs, I did say I was looking to trade all the CHF this week. Didn't really set up how I wanted it to, so I have not found a re-entry for it. I still do think price is likely to push higher, so I am still quite bullish on the CHF pairs. I'm still looking for weakness in the Swiss as a whole, more so in like Aussie and New Zealand. But I do think there's more upside to be had here. Weekly chart, looking very choppy, I must say, which summarizes the price action pretty well. But I do feel like price can still rally back into resistance. I did say early in the week that if I can get a nice double bottom, that could be something I'll look for an entry of. if I could see a strong enough rejection there. I'll look to see if I can get into a position. Get into a position that allows me for that double bottom and then stops up beneath the low. Same situation for... Ooh, did not mean to put that alert there. Same situation for New Zealand CHF as well. But yeah, I think Aussie's a bit better because New Zealand's already tapped into this consolidation, which is where the bearish pressure came in previously. So I need to be a bit more careful. Whereas Aussie, yes, we've tapped into the wick here, but this is where the real momentum came from. So I do think we can come back to retest that. Dollar CHF is an interesting one. I actually do really like dollar CHF sells. I think long term, there's a lot of room to the downside for dollar CHF. It's basically the same bias I have with all the other USD pairs, which is I'm looking for some dollar strength for maybe the next week or two. So I'm looking for more retracement. But the bigger move I do think is dollar weakness. And basically what I'm looking at is a continuation of this bearish leg from the high here to the low. Got some nice confluence at these two zones. Coincidentally, they actually line up pretty well with the zones I mapped out there. You got the 50, which lines up pretty well with the 0.6 level. Then you got the 0.7500 level, which lines up pretty well with the 0.618. But basically, looking for dollar CHF to pull back into one of these two areas for some shorts back into the lows. Because long term, I do think we are still likely to fall and come back and test some monthly support here. You know, if you look at the bigger picture for dollar CHF, what we've been doing since day dot, which is pretty much falling. So I do think we are likely just to fall back into support here. We've had a very bearish month in April. I do think we can see the continuation of that. Just looking at a bit of a pullback for it first before we do continue. So dropping to the lower time frames, I've been pretty bullish because, again, I'm looking for that pullback to happen. And rightly so, the 4-hour chart lines up pretty well with that bias too. Low, high, now expecting a new higher low for, again, another higher high. Solid resistance here, once, twice, a third time. We had the gap there as well. Price hasn't quite filled it entirely. It's wicked into it, but technically speaking, the gap is still unfilled completely. So maybe we do spike lower to go and finish that job off. But essentially, as long as we can hold this level here, 0.832, that keeps me bullish, keeps me expecting more upside. And then I can start to talk about some sells again. Which again, might still be a week or two away. But for now, dollar CHF, I do think we can see a bit of a rally. So, yeah, pretty bullish there for dollar CHF for now. But the sells is where I think the meat of the, I don't know what I was trying to say there. I was going to say the meat of the move, but that doesn't really make any sense. I just think it would be the bigger move. There we go. Probably pretty hard on myself, so even when I'm making profit, I never feel like it. I see. Yeah, I feel like maybe because the profits aren't as big as you want them to be, so you kind of neglect them a little bit, which is really dangerous, to be fair, because, you know, progress in trading is difficult. It is, you know, if you're making more than you want, more than you expected, or less than you expected, you know, profit is still profit at the end of the day. It's profit that you didn't have before, so you got to be grateful and thankful for it as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a good thing because you're ambitious, you want to do better, but of course it can mean that you do neglect the profits you do make as well. But it takes a lot to realize that as well. But yeah, we all have our flaws. We all have flaws. Ahmed, watch this for next week. Maybe you're talking about weekly analysis. I can go through some of the pairs I'm looking at. Of course, not everything is really confirmed yet until the end of today when candles close. But there's a few that I'm eyeing up. So yeah, I'll go through that for you. Antonio, good zones, always a good feeling when the fibs line up. Yeah, I do agree. When fibs lines up well, it's just always a good confidence for the trade. Doesn't make anything bulletproof, of course, but it's a good situation if they can line up. You rather than lining up than, of course, not lining up there. So yeah, if dollar CHF can push higher, that'll be fantastic. And then hopefully in the next week or two, 0.86, we can start to see what price does there. If things look good, take a short. And the reason why I like it as well is because there's a long way to go. If these do play out, back to lows, there's a 500 pip move from the level here to the low there at 750. So, and if you're looking at the monthly zone, you're looking at 1,000, and then that becomes 750 roughly. So there's pretty big swings. And again, don't have to be looking to take advantage of the whole move for it to be profitable. Don't even have to get in at these areas. You can wait for price to respect it, potentially drop, then look for some pullbacks along the way, and those could be opportunities that you look to trade. So there's a million and one ways to trade it. Don't have to try and call the tops, but that's the swing I'm expecting to see over the next few weeks here of dollar CHF. But first, still want to see a bit more upside. Clickbait, what's up? What is going on here? Profit taking. Well, I've hopped into a pound Aussie short, so no profit taking at the moment. Just trade entering. So yeah, hopped into a pound Aussie position only a few hours ago, so the trade is still very young. But I'm looking for a big swing for this one. Still looking at price coming back to test some highs. I'm looking at this as being potentially a bit of a top for pound Aussie. Maybe not top as in reversal top, but maybe top as in you might retrace for, oh, just hit the mic there. Might retrace for a longer period of time before maybe continuing bullish later on. And we do have some bearish structure here, so I'm looking to see if I can capitalize on that and hopefully take some more downside. But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'll go through my watch list, or at least my watch list so far. You're talking about gold? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll go through gold as well. But yeah, in terms of the few pairs I'm looking at, so Aussie yen and New Zealand yen buys is definitely going to be added to the watch list for next week. I do think there's a pretty big move to be had for both of them. I'm so far leaning towards more Aussie yen buys, but they're both very similar pairs, so just see whichever one is looking better at the time. But basically, inverse head and shoulder patterns look to be forming here pretty well. Looking for a little bit more downside for Aussie yen and hopefully some buys around 92. And looking to swing that back to resistance. New Zealand yen buys as well, same situation. I'm not too sure if I will get the pull back into this 84 zone. That's preferably where I'd want to take some longs from, but looks like prices are struggling at support here. We might kind of consolidate a little bit, maybe rally from there. In that case, I might kind of just focus more so on Aussie yen, but same idea, looking for inverse head and shoulder here. There's your left, there's your head, looking at the right shoulder for, again, a big continuation. Anticipating somewhat of a reversal here for some of these yen pairs. So Aussie yen longs, New Zealand yen longs. USD pairs, not really looking to add them yet. I mean, dollar CAD, almost hit my cup there. Dollar CAD's not too far away. I'm looking at 1.405, 1.415 for some shorts. We might go and hit it next week. We're not too far away, so yeah, I can probably see myself adding dollar CAD to the watch list. Basically, either one of these areas. Preferably, I like the level, the second level a little bit higher up. I think that's a better place where a short lines up pretty well with the 0.5 there of the fib. From the high there to the low, the 0.5 comes in pretty well at that zone. So preferably, I would like to see a push a little bit higher up, which again, if that's the case, that's going to take at least a week for us to get there. But if things look good here, I will also have a stab at it as well. So yeah, I can see myself adding dollar CAD to the watch list. Euro USD, probably not. I'm looking for some longer term buys with this one. More so at the range here. Again, it's a setup I'm interested in, but I don't think I will add this to the watch list for next week because I don't think we'll get there and set up and give me an entry for next week. Maybe the week after. So I probably won't add euro, probably won't add pound either. Again, I'm still pretty bullish on both of these longer term, but I need to see a big move down first before I do consider some longs. So these ones I don't see myself adding to the watch list. Unless we have a big drop between now and the end of the day, then maybe, but probably not. New Zealand CAD, I still like the longs here. It's moving a little bit iffy, but I still do really like the buys for this one. Very, very choppy now, but the idea is that we've had a very strong impulse here. I'm looking at this as potentially a bit of a correction, and then I'm looking at the continuation to back to highs and probably beyond that as well. So New Zealand CAD, very eager to still get back into some entries. I did get a trade a couple of weeks ago, which was trailed out for break even, but if I can find a re-entry, make it all worthwhile. So New Zealand CAD longs, something I'm still very interested in as well. Got some nice trendline confidence running through the market there too. So I got first low, second low, looking at the third one, perhaps a nice double bottom there. I think that'll be a really nice place for a buy. So yeah, very interested in that opportunity as well. Of course, pound Aussie, it will be a position I'll be managing next week. To be fair, that's about it so far. Yeah, that's about it. I probably will have a bit more, but off the top of my head, that's kind of what I'll be focusing on for next week. And again, my watch list will vary from size from week to week. Sometimes it might only have 3 pairs. Sometimes it might have 8 or 9. Depends how many good opportunities I'm spotting. So far, the ones I'm really excited for, or that I like a lot, New Zealand CAD longs, Aussie and New Zealand yen longs as well. But maybe some USD pairs speed up a little bit. We'll have to wait and see. Other crosses, I'm not really eager to get involved since I am trading pound Aussie now. Then CHF pairs are okay. I just feel like they're quite choppy, so I think I'll probably leave them alone. I do think obviously CHF can still push, but I'm losing a little bit of love for the setup. Euro pound buy looks most. Yeah, I was eyeing up Euro pound buys as well, but I was like, nah, I'm just gonna leave this one alone. It's just a very choppy pair. I feel like it is in a nice location. Structure looks pretty good as well. I like the way we retraced. So I feel like the Euro pound buys could be slept on a little bit. It could be a nice rally actually, but I decided let me just stay away. I think that's probably my personal kind of intuition getting in the way of that trade, because I think the setup actually looks pretty good on paper, but I decided to stay away. But I'll go through that in a second. Basically sitting on the 100 and 200 moving average. Oh, some nice confidence there as well. I'll go through gold as well for clickbait. DMAR, appreciate it. Have a great weekend as well. Take care, my man. I'll like to about margin and leverage. I'm confused. Good morning, Alex. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, I'm not sure what you said there, Aaron. What was I going to go for? Gold. Oh, missed the X. So yeah, gold, I have been discussing some long opportunities. I was actually debating getting long myself actually for gold yesterday, but the risk reward was looking a little bit off, so I decided to stay away. But essentially for gold, the market to me is still in a bullish climate. We're still seeing higher highs and higher lows. Daily chart still looks moderately healthy. Yes, we did fail at the highs there, but it's not a situation where we've done anything really significant that tells me, okay, gold's about to have that bigger retracement that everyone's expecting. The market is still very much an uptrend, still seeing consistent higher lows, and this could still be another one of them. Unless price was to start breaking through this, give me something like that, then yeah, I would be panic stations at that point. Then I would be expecting lower highs and lower lows and maybe a bit of a bearish trend there. But until then, I am still pretty bullish as long as we can hold this area. Price is retesting prior structure here. We're coming back to use it as support. We do have this bullish channel here, which we've come back to the low end of. And price at the moment is doing a good job at respecting it. So I said to myself, if price was to come back into support again, give me a better entry in terms of risk to reward, I'll be happy to find some longs there. Stop losses below the wick there. See if I can get it back into the middle of the channel, which is where that dotted line is. And then if maybe things go very well, maybe I get it to the upper end of the channel. Maybe things go very, very well, I get it back to all-time highs and maybe further as well. So which is why I like gold, because who knows, maybe we're going to get another big swing and we're going to get another impressive drive to the upside. That could be the case with gold. We just don't know. In terms of a location for an entry and a smart place for a stop loss, underneath that area looks pretty smart to me, and that looks like a nice location to me. And if price, of course, wasn't to respect that, we break through, well, then I'll back away. At that point, gold probably isn't going to give us the rally, and maybe we are just, going to continue to sell off here and get that bigger retracement. So gold, as a whole, yes, profit taking. People probably been taking profits as gold pushes higher, but I think as a whole, gold is still very much a bullish asset, which people are still banking on higher prices. I think some banks have projected 4K by the end of the year. Of course, doesn't mean it will have to happen just because a bank said they expect it to. But hey, if we're going to hit 4K by the end of the year, we're coming up to the 6-month mark pretty soon. We're still trading around 3K, just above 3K. Well, if we're going to hit 4K, we're going to have to see another monster rally like we've done throughout most of the year to get back there as well. So I think the risk is worth the reward of gold. The current climate is very, very bullish. It's definitely worth a stab. If price does break support there, step out the way. There could be some nice shorts to take advantage of as well. But for now, pretty bullish there on gold. Euro pound I'll take a look at, and then I'll go through oil for Alex. So yeah, euro pound, I was debating a trade as well. Reason being, I think this has had a very nice correction. Very, very corrective. The more corrective a retracement, the happier I am. Sometimes corrective retracements are a little bit scary because they do kind of hunt stop losses, if you will, quite a lot. If you had some stop losses, you could get triggered out a few times. But the reason why I like it is because very corrective retracements normally mean a pretty strong rally. Doesn't necessarily always take us back to the high, but we do normally get a strong relief to the upside. Off the top of my head, dollar CAD did that not long ago. Nice corrective push down. We got that rally to the upside. That's kind of what I'm expecting of euro pound at some point in time, as long as we don't keep falling and break through the low here. Because if I go to the daily chart, that's of course the low that gave us this high. So we don't want the retracement to go and break structure now, do we? So yeah, euro pound is in a interesting spot. I did want to see a little bit more downside. I think maybe there's a world where I would have taken euro pound if it was in that area of demand there. Nice consolidation, really nice break to the upside. We're coming back into this area. Poppy said it's coming back into the 200. We've got the 200 on the daily just underneath us there. 100. Price is sitting on there quite well. So yeah, it is coming back into some nice confluence there. I think we've also got the 0.786 in terms of the fib. So from the low to the high, yep, just about sitting on the fib there, 0.786. So there's some nice confluence here for euro pound. It's definitely coming into a nice area. If this was like a more trending pair, which I have a bit more favor with, then I probably would have had a stab at this trade. But I kind of talked myself out of it. But yeah, euro pound, I do feel like we can get a nice push up. Maybe a nice double bottom here could be forming. But I do think there's upside there. Okay, let's have a look at oil. So oil, last time I had a look at this one, I think we were over here. I didn't look at oil yesterday. But yeah, price did end up respecting that zone. Nice area of supply. We consolidated there for a few hours with those 4-hour candlesticks, and of course did eventually provide us with a pretty nice swing there to the downside. Since then, we've of course come back into that area of supply. Price respected it pretty well twice. Once, second time over there. Nice reaction. I did say though, I'm not expecting us to completely sell off back to lows. I said if we do respect this area, well then I think we could see something like this push back into support. I wouldn't expect anything more. Of course we can do. It's just that if I was to trade that, we're not in a position where I look to try and continue anything. We have respected the zone pretty well too. And I do agree. I think 65 looks like a great place for a short. 65, 66 area. Which of course we spoke about a few times when price was very, very close. Then we had that sell-off. I still think that is really the place to keep an eye on. If 65, 66 can hold, well, we can position ourselves short for a massive move. And on the flip as well, if price was to break back above this area, well, if we can get a solid retest, I think we can position ourselves for a really big buy. So I think going both ways, there's a really nice opportunity to be had here with oil. It's just, let's get back to that level, because that's where I think the big moves will happen. Potentially, there might be a buying opportunity, something like this, to ride it back to 65, 66. I would keep an eye on a double bottom. I think that could be a decent opportunity for a trade actually. Nice bounce there initially. If price can repeat that, I think that's a solid place for a buy. Of course, you can probably maybe secure some gains at the high here, but I would expect us to go and hit that big daily level. And then yeah, we'll go from there, see how price reacts. Maybe we break through. This could be a big double bottom for price to break back above maybe, and then we do something like that. Or maybe price gets there, respects it, and come back down. The candlesticks, the price action will tell us the likely move. But for now, I do think we can see a bit of a rally there for oil. And then yeah, we'll see what price does at 66, 65. I think that's a very interesting level to keep an eye on. But yeah, nice reaction yesterday, but I feel like we can still see a bit more upside there. But yeah, as a whole, I wanted to say as a whole. No, as a, what I want to say, as a, I don't even know what I wanted to say there. I combined like 3 words, but I don't even know what word I wanted to use. I think I want to say as a whole. There we go. As a whole. There we go. As a whole, oil looks pretty bearish to me. We've cracked through significant support there. Significant support. So if we were to remain below, that could invite a very, very big drop for oil. And on the flip, it can provide a very big bounce as well. But this support level, you could argue, kind of came back from December 2021. But drag it across there. And of course, we had that massive break in March. If we remain below, well, I feel like for the rest of the year, pretty much, we could see massive downside. Of course, if we recover it, then we might see a lot of upside as well. But either which way, if you can position yourself there for a swing trade, I feel like you've got a nice opportunity for a big return on risk there. So yeah, oil, I think some upside looks good. And then yeah, we look to see what price can do at that big level around 66. How is the US dollar looking? Still trying to hold up its strength, but there is some supply above us, which is causing a bit of resistance, but I do think we can still rally. How is pound Aussie doing? looking okay. I mean, it's still very early doors, so I'm not gonna really look at price action too much. Again, one of my main focuses this year is trying to be a bit more hands-off with my current trades, with my running trades, and kind of just almost ignore it, to be honest, because I don't really have any complex management technique. There's certain areas which I'll go to break even, and then I'll either have a fixed take profit or I'll trail stop losses. And because predominantly I trade in the 4-hour chart, every 4-hour candle takes a whole 4 hours before it does close. And I don't need to check every close as well. So yeah, I could probably potentially go through a whole day really without really need to check the trade. I can set alerts at specific areas which I need to react to, maybe move a stop loss to break even. So I can set alerts for that. But in terms of monitoring, I don't really need to watch the trades really. And I've noticed that the less time I spend watching live trades, the better for, stress and just trading in general. Because I have no control or say what happens with this position. All I can control is my entry, my stop loss, and where I exit. And of course, I'm being very kind of, but a lot easier said than done, as we all know. So I think being a bit more hands-off, just allowing the market to do its thing, allowing your edge to do its thing. Difficult to do, but I think it's just a better for your trading, especially for your mental health as well, because trading can be very, very special, very, very stressful. Especially if you're in a bit of a slump and you're looking to get out of it. You're always betting on the next trade to be the winner that takes you out of the slump. Very, very difficult place to be in. If you have the more relaxed point of view that, okay, I'm just going to keep taking trades, my risk is managed, I don't need to worry about drawdown really, because even if I do take 10, 15, 20 losses, the account's not going to blow, so I don't necessarily need to worry. I'm still within my drawdown limits. And if you can have that mentality, just take good trade after good trade and just focus on the execution and don't really worry too much about profit loss on every single trade, which again, that's ideally where you want to be in and difficult to be in, but that's probably where you're going to have your best trading. And trading is it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I would have to ignore the news if I was going to trade it. Okay, yeah, of course. A lot of noise with the dollar pairs. Yeah, true. I mean, I'm very much technical. I do keep an eye on the news, but in terms of my judgment, if the technicals shape up well, I'm going to take the trade 100%. Sometimes fundamentals may factor a decision, but at the end of the day, I've got good data backing my technical analysis. So from a basic level, I just have to keep doing what I'm doing. Of course, look to improve, of course. But from a technical standpoint, there is edge. So I just look to attack that. There will be times where I take a trade which it completely ignores fundamentals and it potentially goes against what fundamentals are saying, and maybe I take a loss in that position. But there will be times where I go against fundamentals and I potentially take a win as well. So that's the way I see it. Unless fundamentals are going to be like a core part of your trading, where you have like they're part of your checklist and you tick them off, then of course stay up to date with that. But me, I'm quite hands off with fundamentals, so sometimes it can be a bit of distraction to myself. But if I do get set up, it fits the plan well, I'm going to take that trade. Because I know if it does play out and I didn't take it because I was a bit too fearful at the time, I'll be kicking myself big time. I'd rather take the trade and take the loss than not take the trade and miss out on the win. And of course, the big underlying factor here is that it's a good trade initially. Because of course, if you apply that to any trade, you're going to be taking a lot of losses. But if it's a good position based on strategy, and of course you've tested it thoroughly, you know what to expect with it, then take the position. Market's always full of unpredictability. There's many times where people have been expecting fundamentally a currency to be strong and it just hasn't been strong. So yeah, I always take the positions. But it's each their own, each their own. Some people focus on fundamentals quite a lot. Some people don't even check the economic calendar. They'll just take trades like it doesn't even exist. And hey, if they're making a profit, you know, who are you to tell them to look at the calendar? But yeah, I always keep up to date with the calendar. No problem, Yusuf. Have a good one. Have a great weekend. I always keep up to date with the calendar just because I don't want to enter into big news, because that will put my stop loss at risk of just getting wicked out unnecessarily. If there's a big news like an NFP, Fed interest rate, or even just an interest rate for the currency I'm looking to trade, I'd rather enter the trade, you know, at least the day before the news comes out, so I'm already in the trade, already prices moving, or enter after the news. Of course, as a swing trader, you can't avoid all news, so you're going to have to face it at some point. But what I do want to avoid is, you know, getting into a trade and suddenly NFP's coming out in half an hour. Yeah, basically, I'm looking to trade into NFP there, which isn't ideal. So yeah, in that case, I would like to avoid that. But other situations, I'll happily trade through the news. To be honest, I'm trading predominantly on the 4-hour chart. My stop losses are quite big. I mean, for this position, stop loss there is 105 pips. My stop loss can vary between 50 and potentially 150, to be honest. Maybe sometimes even 200 if it's a very volatile market. So I'm not too worried about the day-to-day news, just the bigger events. True. Of course, there is advantage with fundamental knowledge. I'm not saying fundamental knowledge is not useful. Of course, there's advantage with it. There's definitely advantage there. I think the best way to go about it is, you know, look at previous events and see how the market's reacted to it previously. Of course, you want to get your kind of basic fundamental knowledge in terms of, okay, if interest rates go up, what's going to happen? If CPI goes up, what's going to happen? If NFP is higher than expected, what's going to happen? You know, you want to get that basic understanding of news events, but then also see what that has led to in the markets. You know, go through price action, you know, plot NFP events, you know, throughout previous months, and see what's happened afterwards. Do we get a bit of a rally? Does the market stay flat? See what the numbers were. You know, you can go into pretty much a lot of different calendars, and you can see past NFP results and past CPI results. You can see what has happened there, and you can use that to your advantage as well. No problem, J-Zone. Happy to help. But yeah, guys, we have come up to the end of the stream. I will be live again next week, as always, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. UK time. So if you are finding the streams useful, entertaining, informative, please be sure to stay tuned. I will be live again next week. Drop a like before you do leave. It does really help out the stream, gets the content out there. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you do want to see more. And hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Check out the Discord channel, guys, if you do want to share ideas, see what other people are trading, see what I'm looking to trade as well. I do share some of my ideas there too. Check it out. Links. Oh my god, that was a bad stutter. Let's start that again. Links in the description. There we go. To the Discord. So check it out. It's also at the top of the chat as well. So you definitely can't miss out on that. It's completely free to join it as well. But I do appreciate everyone for tuning in to today's stream. Thank you, Poppy. Thank you, Tony Gold. Appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great weekend. And of course, everyone, take care. And I'll see you all in the new week.